Well, if you're just tuning in, this is Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're broadcasting from the Rack Shack Barbecue in West St. Paul. And you can give Elliot a call at 612-326-0430. We're going to be talking with Elliot in the next hour, so we're kind of excited about that, find out what's going on in the world of barbecue, in the Rack Shack world of barbecue. But right now, we're going to get some money talk from Kelvin Kaemingk. Kelvin?
You are. We got a lot of headlines this week that I want to go through. So we start off this segment with the headlines, the mortgage headlines this past week. So I'm going to run through those and we'll touch on them. We're going to end the segment talking about boomerang buyers. How do you get back in the market? What's the time frame you have to wait if you've had a bankruptcy or foreclosure? But let's start off this segment with the headlines, and there's a lot of them in anticipation this week. So, and you also see as we go through the headlines how we are a very fickle industry, and we go up and down, say good, say bad. But the first headline was mortgage rates rise modestly ahead of Fed meeting. Next headline, mortgage rates increase this week in preparation for an increasing likely rate hike next week by the Federal Reserve.
And that Fed meeting is next week?
It's this coming week, yep, on the 16th, on Wednesday, yep.
Glued to the TV.
Where they'll push.
And we'll have a little wager at the end of our segment now as well. So next headline was, talked about the jobs report where we added 211,000 new jobs in November, and then also that upward momentum on the October jobs number as well. Unemployment remained at 5%. But it was interesting. They did come out with the, under the labor force participation rate. And it's interesting, Keith, that just doesn't move. It's at 62%, has been that way for some time. They say that's a good thing, so it's not getting worse. But
this is supposed to be a recovering economy, though.
Yep, it is supposed to be. But the labor force participation rate stays right about that 62% mark. So the other news this past week was about the oil hits $37 a barrel. Actually, it ended up at, on Friday, it was $35.62 per barrel.
That's insane.
It
You
is
need
insane.
$100 a barrel oil, though.
Well, it would be helpful
Before it makes sense.
It would be helpful for me if it was at 100 because
Yeah.
I put some money in oil in Texas. So
I'm the same way. So
like, go!
I'm waiting for her to come back
come
up.
back, baby. I'm sure we'll be fine.
I'm sure
So,
eventually it'll go up.
it will. It has to.
30 years from now.
The rate summary real quick for this last week. We moved. So what happened this past week? Rates moved up a little bit. They rose to a little bit over 4% on 30-year fixed money. A year ago, though, where were rates? A little bit over 4%. So really, when you look year over year, we're
About the same.
flat.
We're a push.
4 weeks ago, the rate was at 4.11%. So again, we're just staying really pretty constant. So we like to see that. The 15 years around 3.25 to 3.5. Jumbo rates right around 4, a little bit under 4. So again, great rates right now. So let's talk a little bit just on that Fed meeting. What are you thinking, Senior? Now, you know it's been exactly 7 years since the Fed moved short-term rates close to zero, and it's been 9 years since the Fed has increased rates. You're saying they're going to push and
I
not
think
raise?
they'll push. I'll tell you why I think they're going to push.
This is
For
misinformation. Just so listeners know, this is all misinformation.
Disclaimer, misinformation.
I'll tell you why I think they're going to push.
Misinformation.
This is my humble opinion. You said it. Affordability index, something that Keith and I have been talking about for the last how many years?
Probably 4 years.
How
since the
awesome
market has turned.
affordability was. Affordability index is actually going up. It's getting worse. All right, because wages are stagnant and home prices are increasing. Well, if you layer that onto a rate increase that will trickle down through the market, not good. So the Fed knows that's not good. Plus, what's the largest lobby on Capitol Hill? The real estate lobby, right? The largest trade organization in the United States. They're pushing hard for no increase. Okay, that's number one. Number two, look what happened Friday. Stock market fell 300 points.
That's because the oil prices went down.
Whatever. Well, you got a market that's plunging 300 points. You think that's a reason to raise rates? The Fed typically raises rates as an inflation hedge, a hedge against inflation. There is no inflation, so why wouldn't they just keep it the way it is? Oil prices are in the tank. Another reason, do you raise rates when oil prices are falling and crashing? Is that going to help oil prices? Heck no. And then you've got the labor participation rate that's been anemic for the last 10 years. All of those things, when you take them all added up, politically, maybe they'll raise rates. It will be purely a political thing. It has nothing to do with economics.
Thank you for your
I'm just saying.
input.
I'm just
And
saying.
now you, Kelvin,
I
what,
would say
Take
that
it to the bank.
yeah, well, we'll see. They will raise rates by a quarter this week on Wednesday.
The Fed rate.
By a quarter.
By a quarter.
By a quarter.
And one of the things that we're going to see is how will that impact mortgage rates? Because at the end of the day, no one cares if it doesn't affect them. And we're going to see that they've already priced in a lot of this into the market. I think we'll see the increase. I think we'll see rates go up a little bit, but not a lot. Remember that the Fed, the Fed is raising the federal funds rate and the discount rate. That's what they're affecting. So
right,
it's
so
really
we're talking
more
about two
short-term
different
money.
things.
Yep.
We're talking about them raising the Fed rate,
Yep.
and will mortgage interest rates then also change?
Correct. Yep. And I think they may go up a little bit, but we price in a lot. What we're going to look at is the pace of future hikes. So when they talk, they'll say we're going to increase the Fed funds rate by a quarter, and we anticipate X. And we anticipate X is where we're going to go in terms of where mortgage rates go. I think things you're going to notice right away is if you have credit cards that are pegged to the prime rates, that stuff's going to go up pretty quickly. But I think long-term mortgage interest rates, we'll have to see what the conversation is about how they're going to proceed going forward.
How about adjustable rate mortgages then, or second home equity lines of credit, those types of things that are on an adjustment?
Yeah, they'll be tweaking up a little bit.
Okay.
So again, and so let's jump real quick to, I just want to talk a little bit about how do you get back in the game when you've had a foreclosure and bankruptcy. And we're going to talk about foreclosures first. I'm really going to just talk about FHA loans and VA loans. And that waiting period is really 3 years. So get that in your head in terms of, okay, how long do I wait? You have to wait 3 years. But if you did, and that's really a foreclosure, a short sale, a bankruptcy is a 7 or 11 is 2 years, and a 13 you can be in it actually. You can be in a chapter 13.
A 13.
Yep, you can be in it as long as you've shown 12 months of
Good payment
payment history, and we can actually get you financed while in a chapter 13.
Which is really a personal
It's
reorganization.
a reorg. Yep, it absolutely is. So that's what you're going to see for FHA loans, and that's the best loan. It's the shortest time frame other than the VA, which is a 2-year period of time for a VA loan to get back in. Now they do have waiting periods are shorter with extenuating circumstances. So they always say it's 3 years or it's 1 year if you had extenuating circumstances.
They're pretty extenuating though, aren't they? I mean, you
It
have
is,
to meet some criteria.
Yeah, it's a sudden and significant damage to their credit from, medical event, loss of wage earner. And you have to be able to look at the credit report and say, good credit, boom, blip,
Event.
yeah, event is handled, boom, we're good again. So we have to be able to see that. And we've tried on a handful, and it's tough. It's tough to get the VA and it's tough to get those approved. So I think the best thing to do
How
is
about
go
with your own
3
company then too? I mean, do you guys have any overlays on that?
No, we don't have any overlay on it because we just go based on what FHA says and the VA says, and
So if they're okay with it, you're okay with it.
we're good with whatever they're good with. So if you have a son or daughter that maybe went through a hard period of time and they're saying, hey, I want to get back in, we're renting a house right now, we'd like to buy. If they've been out for 3 years, let's have that conversation. I think sometimes people think conventional loans, remember, it's 7 years or 4 years.
Right,
So
right.
there's ways to get it in sooner. And if you're a veteran and went through a hard period of time, let's have that conversation because that's only 2 years.
And so with a VA or FHA, it's a 3-year wait cycle.
2 on VA, 3 on FHA.
2 and 3. So
Yep.
so long as they've improved their credit to meet the minimum credit requirements. And with FHA, it's what?
640.
640.
It's actually lower. We can get away with it lower than that, but that's a good benchmark. So if you're lower than that, let's still have a conversation because there's a lot of things that we can do to help increase that score fairly rapidly.
Yeah.
So we'd love to have that conversation.
Yeah, it really depends on what was going on at that time too. I mean, if you missed 13 months,
Right.
you know,
You lost your job, and you're just kind
the
of
payments hurt though. You
Oh,
miss
yeah.
some mortgage
Oh, yeah.
payments, that hurts so much. So
hurts a lot.
if you've done a good job in getting the house sold quickly, or made payments, is scraped and scratched and clawed to make payments as much as you can to a certain point, and limited the amount of deficient payments that you have.
I guess we're running out of time in this segment, but I just wanted to ask quickly, and maybe I'll have to come back next time, we'll ask them, but short sale versus foreclosure, any difference, or are they handled the same?
Handle the same.
Handled the same. Well, I guess we don't have to wait till the next segment. to come back on
There you
that.
go. That's an easy question to answer.
612-627-8000. If you've got any questions that you want to ask on air of Kelvin, 612-627-8000. No problem at all. We are coming down to time on this. Keith Areno is looking at the timesheet on my BlackBerry. Good shape. So in terms of One thing I do want to talk about when we come back is last time we were talking about an article by the Philadelphia Inquirer, and they were talking about people coming back into the market and how the recovery is being slowed by the first-time home buyers not coming in. One of the things that they were pointing to is that the average marriage age is increasing. So when we come back, we want to talk a little bit.
Have a little millennial discussion.
Have a little millennial discussion. It's the biggest segment that we'll ever encounter in our lifetime.
Yeah, good. And they're
For
buying.
sure in mine, I'll be kicking the bucket.
You'll be
You'll
dead
still
soon,
working.
so it's all good.
Wrap that up.
Wrap that deal up. This is your real estate talk. That's a happy note to go
That's
out.
great.
It's my
So,
father here.
Senior's still with us, so
Yep.
call in now.
612-627-8000. That's 612-627-8000.